All right, welcome everybody to this month's Tuesday Talks. I'm so excited to see so many people who have registered for this discussion. I'll be keeping my eye uh, on the waiting room to let folks in. I'm Jessica Rosenblatt. I am the Executive Director of the Ohio Arts Professionals Network, and I am thrilled to have Josh as our July um, host. Josh, we go way back. I actually think that you were supposed to speak at our 2021 conference in Cleveland at Playhouse Square, but I think something happened and we couldn't make it work, if I remember correctly. But what I want to do is give Josh a quick introduction and then let him take it away. I know he's got a lot to talk about on this really important and interesting topic. So, for those of you who don't know Josh, he is the executive director of the Marion Cultural and Civic Center located in Marion, Illinois, where it's very hot today. He's a veteran of the theater and live entertainment industry. Josh has led all aspects of planning and operations at the center for the past 18 years. He directly oversees scheduling, booking, contracting, sales, marketing, and customer service, and is also highly regarded for his talents in lighting, scenic, and graphic design, as well as his work as a mural artist. Josh is widely recognized in the industry as an innovative trailblazer in collaborative community engagement. His creative and synergistic projects, including the painting of murals of downtown buildings, establishing the Marion Mural District. In addition to his leadership at the center, Josh frequently presents and speaks on marketing and social media strategies for both the arts and small business communities. Recently, Josh opened Market Street Hall, a new 250-seat sister venue to the Marion Cultural and Civic Center. He also serves on the board of directors for the Illinois Presenters Network and is the treasurer of NAPAMA, who just recently had a fantastic retreat down in North Carolina. Josh is one of the producers and co-hosts of the popular weekly performing arts industry podcast, There's No Business Like. So I'm thrilled to introduce Josh to you on today's topic, which is selling out or showing up, rethinking commercial programming for community impact. Josh, take it away.
Hey, so whenever I started with the Marion Cultural and Civic Center, we were only presenting a few shows a year ourselves. We were primarily a rental house, and most of that rental was local rental for local production companies, or a local radio station putting on bringing in a contemporary Christian show. And as we progressed and grew as a venue and with our footprint within the city of Marion, we started to really kind of look at our outlook, look at how things were changing for us. And then we had a new mayor coming into office. It was our first new mayor in 56 years. The prior mayor had sat in that seat for 56 years. And so the new mayor came in, sat down with me, sat down with our budget. He looked at me and he said, "It looks like you're basically attempting to lose as little money as you can every year as your general mode of operation. Just attempting not to lose is how you guys are progressing." I said, "Yes, that is correct." And a little background about our venue. All of our general operations are subsidized by the city of Marion. And then all presenting and programming, marketing, every aspect of that has to be self-sustaining. And so as we looked at the budget, he said, "I want you to change that because I want the Marion Cultural and Civic Center to be a beacon for people to come to our downtown, to revitalize our downtown." He wanted us to be the kind of hinge point for change and for development within our downtown. And so the directive was, I want you to start bringing name acts. I want you to start bringing popular acts in more and more. And so we went from ourselves presenting about 5 shows a year to presenting 40 to 45 shows a year. And our budget went from $75,000 to $750,000 for presenting. However, the caveat with that is that has to also produce the funds to sustain itself. It isn't a blanket, you have $750,000 to spend. There is a $750,000 window, but you have to balance that with income. And so we really started looking at how we were programming and what we had been programming. Prior to that, I remember whenever I started here 18 years ago, I came in bright-eyed and I wasn't going to present any tribute acts. I wasn't going to do anything other than presenting art and culture for its merit, for its artistic merit and its cultural merit, and that was it. And I soon learned how little I really knew, um, and how naive that general thought process was. And then as we came into our new era with the direction of our mayor, it really made me look at, all right, he wants big names in this community to draw people downtown. Like that is my that is now my job. That is now my directive. But at the same time, there was nothing in his directive about maintaining our mission of cultural programming and artistic programming for the community. But for me, that had to still live and maintain. And so, how do we do that? How do we find that balance? How do we identify what is commercial programming, selling tickets for the sake of selling tickets versus how we're going to serve our community? And that was my approach going into it. And little did I know how wrong I was about that approach to commercial programming. That the commercial programming itself served the community in a way that I never thought about serving the community. Because the reality is, if something is selling out your house, for us, that's 1,100 seats. If something's selling out 1,100 seats, grossing six figures, and people are willing to put their money and their dollars out there, then that's something that they care about. That's something that they're passionate about. And in turn, that's a way that we are serving those people in that community by providing things that they care about and that they're passionate about. And so the other aspect of it is, a lot of things have kind of a niche market or a niche um, group of people that it's going to be marketed to or to serve. However, when when you actually start selling the tickets and the crowds start coming in, that's where the surprise really happened for me in the diversity of people that it was bringing into our hall. The things that I was programming that I thought were serving those parts of the community before, I'm now actually seeing the people that I thought I was serving coming in on shows that I thought was going to be present purely as a commercial venture. And so the first show that really, really changed my mind and struck me with the most diverse audience was Kenny G. Uh, and we brought him in his Christmas show, and it was such a diverse audience that hit every age demographic. There were 22-year-olds in there because he had just done a cameo on a rap single and was featured in their music video. And then we had the oldest patrons and then patrons from every cultural demographic within our community as well. And so Kenny G ended up being this thing that, yes, it was a commercial success. And by commercial success, I mean our profit based on ticket sales and bar sales was we brought in about $20,000 on that show. And it made sense very quickly that if we can do that a few times a year, then I can dedicate $100,000 to be absorbed by programs that we are doing for the sake of presenting that art within our community. And so we had Kenny G, we had Martina McBride. Um, Martina McBride, that was one that, in my mind, we could only support a $50,000 artist fee. And over over the pandemic, I had stayed in contact with a lot of my friends at agencies and throughout the industry. And just maintaining that contact opened up conversations, general conversations. And there was a good friend of mine um, at WME who pushed me and said, "I really think you can do more than 50,000. Um, I think that, if you're willing to take a risk and try it." Martina McBride at that point was 75,000. She's not anymore, but at that point in 2021, she was 75,000. And and I said, "You know what? I finally just kind of agreed, took a risk on it. In my mind, took a large risk. $75,000 to me, that's a giant check to write. And in taking that risk, it sold out in about 3 weeks from the on sale date. And then with Martina, between ticket sales, ticket fees, and bar sales, we brought in $26,000 on that show. So between Martina McBride and Kenny G, within 3 months of each other, that was $46,000 that got added to our balance line that could offset programming that we wanted to present.
And Josh, can I ask you a quick? I think you said this before, but this is profit. This is after all of your expenses. This is what
That
you brought
is
in.
that is after everything. That is straight profit. Um, but at the same time, I keep saying bar sales because bar sales are a big part of the number that we bring into this room. Bar sales are something that can balance or push over a show from break even into profit. Aaron.
Sorry, I'm in a new setup trying to figure out where all my stuff is. It's making me crazy. I don't know if this is a time for questions, but I have a question about, because I feel like you and I are in the similar circumstances. We have, areas that are bordered by, larger municipalities around us. And do you price your tickets based on your patron base or based on the flat guarantee and your expenses?
I based it on the flat guarantee in my expenses.
Great.
And what I've found, the biggest one that we've done so far, the biggest show and the biggest price point was Patti LaBelle. And that was my first six-figure guarantee. And some of those tickets were $275. And the $275 tickets sold before anything else did.
And you didn't find that your patrons, had issue with paying that for that name?
Let me say this. The way that it sold sets the standard as far as whether they're going to pay it or not. And those $275 tickets sold first. And then the next tier down sold out second. And then my balcony sold out third. That left my two middle tiers. And that center tier was the slowest to sell. But the highest ticket price sold immediately. I don't think those lasted 15 minutes.
That's amazing. At one of the conferences where we're at together, I might want to have a sit down meeting between us so that maybe you can, help me bolster my courage to jump in with both feet and do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean there are things to consider with all of it. I mean, the namesake is what's going to sell those tickets at that price.
Sure,
And
sure.
you,
I mean, I
you
have
you
a
can't do that on somebody that isn't incredibly well known. But at the same time, you're going to be hard pressed to find people for $100,000 that aren't well known.
oh, sure, sure, absolutely. All right, groovy. Thank you.
And And let me also say, there were a lot of complaints online about those ticket prices.
Because everybody's
And there are
brave
always going
online.
to be, yeah, there are always going to be dissenting voices. But if the show sells and you make a profit, then the prices weren't too high for the market itself. Now, let me say this. I take on commercial things that I'm looking to use as things to bolster our funds, bolster our series, bolster our sales. I'm looking at the guarantee, and that's how I'm basing my prices. But then whenever I'm looking at something that we're doing for mission-based work for the sake of presenting the art in this community when this community wouldn't see art like that otherwise, I do the opposite. Um, there was an immersive show that we did on our stage called The Strange Undoing of Prudencia Hart. When I structured our ticket sales, if we sold out to be a, I think it was a $13,000 loss. But it was that fringe show from Edinburgh Fringe that was edgy and unique and cool and immersive and an experience that we wanted to present for this community. So we set every ticket at $35. And we set our budget from the beginning planning to lose on that show. And we sold it out. That show was a sellout, but it was a sellout with a scheduled loss. But we're doing the commercial programming so that we can do that. Now, let me also say this. Commercial programming is still artistic, and it is still a presentation of an artistic product. And most of the time, it is an artistic product that is done at the highest level of execution. Because these people are famous for a reason. They're selling tickets for a reason. They have finely tuned their art. They have finely tuned their craft. And one of the most commercial institutions within our industry is Broadway programming itself. And if you think that Broadway programming isn't commercial in every way from top to bottom, then you are sadly mistaken. It is a business purely from top to bottom.
All you have to
It
do
is
is go out in the lobby and look at the merch.
yeah. And so whenever you're looking at it, commercial programming does not mean a lack of high artistic execution. And this also comes down to whenever we're looking at tribute artists, we're an 1,100 seat hall. I'm never going to have the Eagles perform here. But whenever Hotel California is booked into my hall, which has been done by a promoter multiple times, and it has sold out every time. And with the way our rental structure is set up, as a minimum versus a profit share. And so whenever they sell out and do incredibly well, so do we. And then we also get an $8,000 bar take on that show. And so the commercial programming that the promoters are bringing into our hall, I'm looking at my bar first, and I'm also looking at the ticket sales. And so there have been times with the promoter's show that we have profited 12,000 on bar and 6,000 on ticket fees and our profit share, which is 5% of their gross versus a minimum rental requirement. And so we've brought in $18,000 of profit that feeds into this same pool of money on a show that we had no risk on because it was a promoter, but it was a highly commercial product. And it is a tribute that is tried and true and has been doing it for 25 years. And those tributes sell and they make money. And as long as the tributes are done with a high level of artistic execution, then you're still fulfilling your mission of putting good art on your stage. Amber, what do you got?
Thanks, Josh. And I have got 3 new agents that I had join the call that I'm training this week. So I wanted them to hear from a great buyer like you. And you just touched on something that I went over with them today, yesterday, that commercial programming doesn't necessarily mean the Patti LaBelle's. Like you just said, Hotel California will also sell 1,100 seats. So just wanted to remind you girls of that. But also, my question was, when you are bringing in like these high ticket items, are you tracking where people are coming from? Like, do you get a lot of people
Yeah.
from other areas? And then what's your exclusivity like for shows like that?
So we typically do a 60-mile exclusivity. That
Okay.
only, some of the time we also do 100. I mean, it all depends. For us, with where we're located rurally in Southern Illinois, the only, at a, say, 90-mile exclusivity, the only theater that excludes for us is typically in Paducah. And so our rural location is kind of important to that. And then your question about where the ticket buyers are coming from, we sold to 929 different zip codes last year.
Wow.
And so based on the name, we have people coming into town from all over the country. And diversifying your programming and being willing to put things on your stage that you never thought would be on your stage. Like one of my favorite shows that we've ever had, based on my own sentimentality and when I grew up, was we had Bone Thugs and Harmony in here. We made I think we made $3,000 or $4,000 on ticket sales, but then we made another $9,000 at bar on that show.
Nice.
And there was hardly anybody over the age of 45 in the room. And it went as young as 20 years old. And so it brought in a completely different segment of people than are typically in our PAC.
Cool. Thank you.
And Amber, just, I mean, you speaking up reminds me of, we just bought, or we just got contract from you on doo-wop project. And if you present a doo-wop as part of your season at any point, congratulations, you're already doing commercial programming. Because doo-wop is pop music traditionally. It is still pop music for a certain age demographic. And in turn, it is commercial programming. There is so much that is commercial programming, because if you're putting doo-wop on your season, it's typically because it's going to sell a bunch of tickets for your primary demographic. And it selling a bunch of tickets means that it's commercially driven, and in turn, it's commercial programming for you.
Thank you. And they do have a new show out for the 26-27 season.
Sean.
Hey, Josh. Great to see you and everybody here. How have your success stories helped you with sponsorships?
So our success stories have opened up more in-kind sponsorships. Being a city entity, we don't, and this is just us, we don't pursue a lot of corporate sponsorships. Our media sponsorships are in-kind sponsorships. And so we have great partnerships with both TV and radio. I use the TV less than I used to, just because we don't get the same results that we used to out of TV programming or TV marketing. But both of those media sponsorships give us a complete match with every dollar that we spend. And they are on for literally any show that we announce, they are automatically signed on for it as an ongoing partnership. And so they are excited. One of the things that we hadn't always worked with them as announcing every show, and that was something that they brought to the table with us, was that they would like to be the one to immediately break it. to break that show, to put it out to the public. And so we let them announce it, and then we follow with a social media launch 5 minutes after their scheduled announce. And so we allow them to lead and then us follow on the announcement itself as an extra perk and benefit for them. And they now view themselves as almost an exclusive place to know what new shows are coming to the Marion Cultural and Civic Center. And they have then progressed with that kind of a partnership with other regional, much larger venues like ballparks and stuff like that are putting on bigger shows.
That takes me to a follow-up. Where do you put most of your advertising dollars for things like Doo-Wop Project and Hotel California?
I mean, honestly, digital is our bread and butter anymore. And that some of that digital is onto streaming networks with OTT buying. Some of that is, a lot of that goes directly to Facebook, Meta, Instagram, and it allows us, both of those applications allow us to do much more targeted marketing. Because both with OTT, which is buying for streaming services, you are able to isolate, hey, I want to market this demographic. I want to market to moms with kids the age of 8 years old. Here's the programs that they're going to be watching. And that's what it's going to be marketed to. And then the same thing with social media. You're able to put all kinds of qualifiers on there that really isolate and maximize your dollar. And I'm not saying that we put all of our money in those platforms into specific detailed marketing, because I still don't have every bit of confidence they completely know what everyone's preferences are. And so we still do general blanket marketing with those dollars as well. What's up, Jacob?
Hey, I actually had a question from and this is actually kind of nice that you brought up what you brought up when you brought it up. Um, could you maybe go over your announce and on sale process just as a general, like for everybody there, like maybe give us like a this is what we do to make the on sale happen, and then beyond that maybe give some special cases like with maybe like an A-list artist, I do this
Mhm.
versus a tribute show that comes in, I do that versus a something that would be more along the lines of a traditional performing arts center programming, I would do this. Like I think
Yeah.
those case studies would be really helpful for a lot of people. I mean agents as well here. I mean I think I would learn from that. So thanks.
So with on sale, so much varies based on the product itself as far as the artist. If it's a big name artist, they're going to have an overall tour launch that you're just going to have to align yourself to. However, I will say there is a general practice with that, which is typically a Monday or Tuesday announce with a Friday on sale. Because you want enough time to build excitement for people to line up to buy tickets for it. But at the same time, you don't want the announce to happen and then forget about it down the road, like 2 weeks down the road or whatever. You don't want to create too much space between your announce and your on sale, because you can then lose interest. And so that 4 to 5 day window allows enough time for people to get excited about it, plan where they're going to be, how they're going to be, what computer or phone, or whether they're going to take a break to be on their phone to try and buy tickets right when it goes on sale. It allows that. It also allows 3 to 5 days also allows time for it to permeate within the market and be shared within the market so that people actually know that it's happening. Because just announcing isn't going to get the word to everyone. And so typically we do 30% upon announce and on sale of overall marketing budget. It's a 30, 20, 50. So 30% on sale and announce an on sale. So that 30% gets spread 1 week, the first week for announce and when the on sale date's going to be. And then for the next 2 to 3 weeks, we will continue to perpetuate that artist within that 30% of that marketing budget. And then 20% is maintenance that will put out intermittent ad buys throughout your time from the end of your announce window to a month to 6 weeks prior to the show. And then
And
that
what are
last
I was
that
gonna say,
last
what is that?
50% drops in for the last month prior to your show for last minute buyers.
And what is that intermittent buy? Because obviously, like, what is the one-time little things that you're doing
So
in the
I
maintenance
will,
period?
like, if I've got let's say 12 weeks, every 4 weeks I'll drop $100 into socials to run for 1 week. And so it's just enough to keep it in front of people and keep it top of mind. And typically, if I'm building out the full marketing schedule, then that will be an alternating week to a week that I've got it dropping on radio for a week. If I've got TV buys, then TV will be an alternate week to that. And so it's floating around to where I'm buying for 1 week every 3 to 4 weeks, but every alternating week will be a different platform of that buy. So it's being perpetuated on different platforms, different marketing modes throughout that process. And then it's all out full media blitz with the remaining 50% of your marketing budget for the last 6 weeks of sales. Now, with that being said, if you've had great commercial success and you're 95% sold out, you're cutting that final marketing budget to maximize profit.
Right. And then you're applying that savings probably to another show that you maybe needs the help or something of
Yeah.
that nature. You're kind of doing that. Now, on your
Yeah,
initial
by not making that additional spend where you've already got 95% sales or it's sold out, you're saving an extra, $2,000 to $3,000 typically. And applying that to the profit for that show that then gets passed on to being able to underwrite other shows that you can present.
as a general rule, are you using are you making like 10% of house the marketing or gross potential, like your marketing budget, or like is there a
No,
general rule that you're doing?
basically we've figured out that to get good permeation in our market, what our price points need to be. Now that price point changes during election cycles primarily. And we'll have to do a much bigger buy during election cycles than we will any other time of the year. During especially presidential election cycles, it doubles your marketing cost. But for us, we figured out that if we do $2,000 in socials and we do $2,000 matched through radio, which is actually $4,000 worth of buy on radio.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do 1,500 to 2,000 on either TV or OTT, then that saturates our market relatively well.
That's like 8 grand, 8, 9 grand, somewhere in there.
It's $6,000 of actual spend with a $2,000 match.
Got
Now,
it.
if we're doing TV instead of OTT, then we've got an additional match on top. But that's all case by case, whether we're programming towards an older demographic that's watching the news every morning, because that's when we'll hit TV. But otherwise, if people are getting their entertainment and their news from other sources based on demographic, because that's all pretty clear based on demographic who's getting their news from where, and that then allows us to decide where we're placing that money from a marketing standpoint. Don, what do you got?
Oh, hi there. Used to be a presenter for 11 years. It's fascinating. what I wanted to ask are two things. In terms of you base a lot of your revenue on ticket sales and bar,
Mhm.
and does philanthropy come into play, contributed income of any kind?
Not for us.
Okay.
Any contributed income for us typically goes into infrastructure or to equipment purchase. So
And
for the most part, with our model and the way that we're set up,
sure.
any donations that come in go towards those avenues and don't go towards programming.
And what about sponsorships? Is that anything in your area that matters, or don't have it?
Sponsorships for us is primarily through media
Okay.
partnerships and not through financial sponsorships.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like I said, that's just our model.
Oh, yeah. And one, I wanted to compliment you because when I was presenting within a season, this is 20 years ago, uh, I did the same thing. I had things within that season that helped pay for some beautiful art that I brought in, like the Jose Limon Dance Company and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, that 5% you mentioned of the take when you're splitting,
Mm-hmm.
and that's after expenses.
That is no. So whenever it's a rental and it's a
No, I
rental
meant
setup.
Yeah.
So with us, we've got that 5% is based on our rental model. And our rental model is a minimum rental versus 5% of gross ticket sales.
Oh, okay. I thought it was when you were
Yeah.
bringing in a commercial entity.
No, with commercial entities, I mean, there's so many different contract arrangements, whether we're doing a bonus on a back end or a back end split. I mean, there's some commercial artists who almost all of our profit will come from bar. I mean, I just signed one contract that they get 90% of the house take after expenses.
And then,
but they're going to
after
have big bar sales.
Yes, but if you don't make the expenses, how do you guys work out the loss?
Oh, the loss is on us. It's our risk.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Those are my
I'm not saying
questions.
that commercial programming doesn't come with that risk itself.
Yes.
I probably lose a little bit on every fourth or fifth commercial show that I bring in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But overall, across what we're doing, you know, everything isn't a giant success.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly what I did. It was the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Different shows might not sell as well. Others go way over and make great money. And then at the end, the season itself had a bottom line of profit.
And I keep talking about bar sales.
Yeah.
Our bar numbers, like our actual like drinks, are not incredibly expensive.
Wow.
A standard domestic beer is a $5 purchase. Our highest is $8. And
so a lot of happy consumption goes on in your venue.
There's a fair amount of consumption. We don't overserve. Everyone is, you know, we're very adamant that every one of our bartenders has their tips training to where they are very well trained in when to not overserve people. We cut people off on a regular basis.
Wow. Well, thank you. Those are all my questions. You're doing great. And I love this group, this Ohio presenters. I really do.
Yeah, they're pretty fabulous.
Yep.
Hey, Jason, what do you got, man?
Hey, you actually just got to the question I was going to ask, which was, have you ever had like a really big loss on one of these bigger risks? And you hinted maybe some small losses, but I was just wondering, what were your takeaways if and when that's happened, that you said, hey, we think this 75 grand act is going to be a huge sell, and it ends up only selling 60 grand or 50? Like, has that happened? And what have you learned?
So I've had one that was a $35,000 guarantee. And after expenses and backline and marketing, I ended up with a $25,000 loss. I mean, that hurt a lot. Don't get like, everything is not a success. However, over my next 3 shows, I brought in an extra $35,000 in profit. And by the end of the month, I was still in the profit for commercial programming.
Was there a takeaway about, you know, that affected your choices in the future with artists based on that?
I mean, that specific show, I still don't know why it didn't sell. And the one thing that I found is that the numbers that I was looking at were mainly casino numbers, and casino numbers are often inflated because they comp so many tickets that they show great sales whether there's great sales or not. And so the big takeaway for me was that in looking at comparable numbers, I needed to focus much more on PAC numbers and much less and kind of ignore any casino numbers. Because if a casino has a show and it's not selling well, they don't care. They'll comp tickets and send tickets out to people because on average, there's one casino that I've gotten numbers from. On average, they bring in $235 additional income based on every ticket that they sell, not including the ticket purchase. Because they've got restaurants, they've got hotel rooms, they've got gambling, and they are tracking each person that is there for that show. And they know that they will bring in, on average, over $200 per person that they bring into the building. So they don't care if they're making money on their show or not.
Yeah, that's great to know.
That is not blanket across the board. However, as a PAC looking at numbers, be wary of looking at comparable numbers to casino sales versus PAC sales.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi. You described your marketing budget structure for your commercial programming. Could you also describe the marketing budget you typically do for your community programming and how they're different?
They're not different at all. We use the same budget for our arts and mission-based programming because if we don't invite people to the room, if we don't get people into the room, if people don't know about the show, then what's the point of doing it? If we're doing it to serve our community, then I'm going to put the exact same amount of money into it to make sure that everyone in this community, I mean, you're never going to reach everyone, but as many people in this community know what's happening and know what's coming to our community as possible. Because them simply knowing what the opportunity is brings our level of acknowledgement within the community higher. Because if they know that all different types of shows are coming all the time, they'll be looking for what's coming more often to see if there is something that they like. So making sure that that marketing plays well and is spent well for every show is incredibly important, purely for the mission of us being well known within our region as this is where you go to see the best acts, whether they're commercial or artistic.
Right on, thanks. I clapped, but I'm gonna do snaps too.
Josh, I feel like we are going to have to bring you on for another one because this has just been such a wonderful conversation. And, you know, I was going to ask this kind of along the same lines of what Sarah asked, and then leading into, have you seen your, you know, kind of unknown acts see more attendees at their events, which you've kind of just answered in essence. But do you want to talk about that at all in terms of are you still booking for within your mission and you have certain styles that are not really known, but it's something that you picked up at a conference? Yeah.
We were doing, whenever I came on with this organization 18 years ago, we were doing 4 shows a year. That stepped up to 5 shows a year in a series. The series itself was dying, still continuously dying as a series and series sales, package sales. But at this point, I treat every one of the shows within that series as an individual event. And being a package member, you get I think, 10% discount on the ticket. And then you get the same seats for every show. Past existing members, we spend $0 of marketing it as a series because we treat everything as an individual event at this point. But our mission, whenever I came on, was presenting those 4 shows a year. That bumped up to 5. But now I'm presenting typically 12 to 15 of those shows that I consider shows that are, in my opinion, designed for our community as opposed to designed to be commercial successes. And the commercial programming has allowed me to expand upon our mission, not just stay true to our mission, but to double or triple our mission based on the year and in what we're presenting. And so the utilization of commercial programming has allowed us to be better stewards of our mission than we had been before. Rather than it being a distraction, it allows for us to do more and be more for our community. Hey, Mojo, what's up?
Sorry about that. I couldn't get it to go on. As usual, you're really showing your vision and creativity, and I appreciate that. I'd like to request that you expand a little more about the Civic Center, Marion Civic Center, and your role in the community, because your success on stage within the four walls is a small portion of how your Performing Arts Center contributes to the community and has visibility and return on the community's investment in youth.
Yeah. So one aspect was during the pandemic, it was mentioned the mural district and me being a mural artist. And that was something that we did as our role during the pandemic. For the first 3 months, we were one of the first few people or organizations doing online programming and virtual programming. We started virtual programming. I believe the shutdown for the state of Illinois. Our last in-person show was March 12th. And by the 16th, we had our first virtual show up and going. We did that for 3 months. We did 3 shows a week for 3 months, and that was plenty. The newness was wearing off. But we viewed it as our role to serve our community during the time that we were all in. We also were attempting to serve local artists who typically would be playing bars and restaurants and playing community gigs that no longer had gig work. And so we were bringing them in and paying them to be a part of it, to try and continue to perpetuate our gig economy while there wasn't a gig economy. And then from there, we were closed for 18 months, I think. And with that, we then started putting up murals. And we went from having 2 murals in our downtown to, I think we are at 33 now in our downtown within 4 blocks of our venue. Our venue's on the town square. And so, so we were able to create a downtown arts district. We then started doing outdoor shows whenever the weather was good. And we've attempted to still perpetuate a lot of that stuff after the pandemic. And so one way that we're doing the outdoor shows is we started this in the fall, and the city was doing some additional work downtown. So we didn't do it this spring, but we're going to do it again this fall. We've got what is called our Cafe Light series. And it is literally just in the alleyway leading to our venue. There are cafe lights strung above it, and we do outdoor programming there, but we do it for 90 minutes prior to whatever show we're having. And so literally, as soon as you exit your vehicle to come to the show at the Civic Center, you're already experiencing live music and live entertainment. And so some of the time that's $150 to a singer-songwriter. Some of the time it's $500 to a band. And then every once in a while, like the Fabulous Equinox Orchestra started that series for us last year. They came through. They needed essentially a driving stop on their way back home. They called me. We figured out what we could figure out, and we did Fabulous Equinox Orchestra outdoor in the alley as an entry act as they were coming to the show that night. And so that cafe light series is a way to create an overall experience that extends much further past when they walk in the door of our venue. It's when they leave their vehicle and are coming to our venue that they're experiencing things as well. We also support all kinds of downtown events in our community. And we also we didn't this summer because of some renovations that were happening, but we typically have a free movie series in the summer on every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. We have a movie. It's always typically family based. Often it's a Disney cartoon, but we do a lot of things to working towards and serve our community. And all of that also comes out of that overall programming budget that is supported by the commercial programming.
Josh, can I cap this off with one last question?
You
We
bet.
are coming down to our end. You mentioned before that the budget was 750. Are you still at that budget line, or have you been able to move that up?
So me and the city treasurer, and this is a very unique situation, especially within city government. Me and the city treasurer have a understanding that that is a floating number. I don't have to spend all of it. I can spend more than that as long as I have the income to balance it within the programming sector. We have an understanding that that is a floating number based on what's available, what I'm bringing in, what our contracts look like, and what our sales look like.
That's a great relationship to have. I've
It
heard
is.
not everybody's in that boat, but that's great. Well, I'll tell you, I think that this conversation could keep going. Don, it looks like you do want to mention something. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, just on the bottom line, Josh. So you end a season, you end 3 seasons in a row, you're in the black. Do you have to give that money back, or are you able to create a reserve so that if you want to do some phenomenal work, you've got a couple 100,000 reserved up because you did so well in a couple seasons?
I'll be honest, we never have a season. We program 365 days a year. I book 365 days a year. And so my booking cycle doesn't end and my presenting cycle doesn't end. And so part of that with commercial programming specifically is as somebody's going out with a tour and it's a name and they need a fill-in in the Midwest, I'm their guy. And they know I'm their guy and they know they can call me any time of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is incredibly beneficial. So some of the time we've done a 6-week lead on a show and sold it because they needed a last minute fill.
Okay, let me reword it. But at the end of the year,
to do that.
Right. But at the end of the year, you have an annual budget.
Mm-hmm.
So when that annual budget is resolved and there's a cash surplus, what happens to that surplus?
So, essentially with us, all of that kind of goes back into the city's general fund because the city underwrites any loss that we have anyway.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The city underwrites all of our operating. And so it's not viewed as really separate budget from that standpoint.
Gotcha. Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
If we make extra, then it's less that the city's going to be putting into our underwriting, our operating support.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Josh, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Raise of hands if we want Josh to come back for another discussion. I think we can ask you about another hour's worth of questions. And no pressure, Josh, but I do have December open for my final spot of the year if you would like to come back and join us.
You and I can chat about it.
All right, sounds good. Well, as we close this out, just so everybody knows, this will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel. We have years worth of Tuesday talks that we have shared there, so you can go back. We started these in 2020, when COVID hit, as we all went virtual. So lots of conversations, lots of topics. I'm grateful to Josh for having the time to sit in and do this. I know you juggle so many things, including There's No Business Like. So it's wonderful to have you here. If you're tuned in today, I hope you guys will join us for another Tuesday Talks. For the next 2 Tuesday Talks, we actually have Sarah Sisser, who is the Executive Director of Creative Ohio, which is an advocacy group located here in Ohio. They worked closely with the Ohio Arts Council to receive funding for folks during COVID. She's going to talk all about advocacy and how it's how government works, how lobbyists works, how money works, how budgets work. So she has so much to talk about that we've booked her for 2 months in a row. And again, it looks like we might need to bring Josh back to close out our year. So I'm sorry to say goodbye. This has been such a wonderful talk, but Josh, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you all for giving me your time today.
Until next time, you guys, thank you so much.
Bye.